Well, we are back after a lot of testing the new updates to the simulator. Things are happening with passive income like never before. You can see that I now have 29 aircraft running passively, 30 in the hangar in total, running about 9.5 million in 8 hours. Not too bad, especially since those flights are now being able to be run with autopilot. I have been doing a lot of those missions with the Pilatus PC-24, unfortunately. However, it is an enjoyable experience as of late to be in that aircraft. And hopefully today's flight will bring the same with this pride and joy, our HPG H145. And we're going to dive into how we're getting these results. Because personally, I think this is looking absolutely fantastic now. I have my settings nearly across the board on Ultra, and I'm very, very happy with how this is looking. It is quite phenomenal. We'll get inside of the bird right here, and we'll start talking a little bit about how we got here. So the first thing I want to discuss is this little guy right here. This is the NVIDIA Profile Inspector, and there's things that you want to do once you install this. Absolutely recommend this. You're going to want to come to the DLSS enable DLL override and put that to on. Now, of course, this is stuff that's going to kind of depend on your graphics card, but definitely worth playing around with. The options are either on or off for some of these. I also have the DLS forced preset letter set to always use the latest. And the enable override for my specific card is off because it is still just a 2080 Ti. And then the DLSS RR enable override I have to on and overridden by the latest available. Once that's done, you need to make sure to apply the changes. More importantly is that up here in this box where it says Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, you want to put this in here as the correct simulator. You want to make sure that you are using the profile for this specific app, game, whatever you want to call it. Once that's done, you can come into the settings and you can pump this thing up pretty good. So right now, like I said, I'm back to some pretty great results using the regular native 3840 by 2160 of the monitor. I'm no longer using that 1440, and I do have it to quality DLSS. The frame rate limit is up to 100, and I'm still using the dynamic settings. It's giving me great results at this point. I have off-screen Ultra for buildings, Ultra for trees. I do have plants and rocks off. This is helping my performance greatly. Grass I do have set to Ultra, volumetric clouds Ultra, and texture resolutions at this point for me is just set to high, and I'm pretty happy with it. Everything else is sticking around the high mark. I'm not too concerned about it. For me personally, I believe I am getting an absolutely fantastic result out of this simulator. And more importantly than how it looks is how it performs. And I will say that one of the greatest things about the update and things going on there is just about everything flight model related, both in free flight and in career mode. On top of that, the unexpected errors are now just a 100% thing of the past. Those are now gone. I haven't experienced any of those since the launch of SU-1 and the world update as well. Things are going swimmingly at this point. Now, once I had the profile inspector installed and everything running as it should, I started getting notifications that every driver needed to be updated. Not just the graphics driver, which is now running the 572.70. It's working absolutely fantastic. I also had to come in and do another update to the streaming software, OBS. And once everything was tweaked back where I wanted it and running together, things are looking and feeling wonderful. This thing is doing extremely well. We have gotten some comments recently about the difficulty of doing these search and rescue missions out in open water. It is extremely hard to do, but actually I find those to have gotten pretty easy with practice. Especially from outside of the helicopter in career mode. Here in the H145, we'll be able to do that without the use of going outside. We don't need the external cameras to get this done because of the information that's being displayed on this iPad. This aircraft is flying absolutely fantastic at this point. How has your experience been with the new update? I believe I have no visual as of yet. Let's see if we can zoom in on our map a little bit more here. Where did that call out? I have the ambulance. Great thing that we can do with this aircraft, and I'm not even going to use autopilot to get this done. I am going to do this by hand. I'm going to put the aircraft in the center of the map and zoom it in as close as possible so I can get an exact idea of where I am over the target. Even though I don't have comms with anyone in the aircraft just yet, I am very curious to see how multiplayer mode is now going in the sim since this update has been released. I think that will be extremely interesting. Zoom in the center map as well. Bring our hover down a little bit more. We're sitting at about 200 feet right now. I think something like this should do quite well. And I'm going to switch to hoist. Now we get the little dot indicator of where our survivor is on the planet in relation. And our crew is at work. Again, I'm flying this by hand and hopefully not drifting too far away here with that look out the window, but yeah, we're drifting. Either way, the performance right now is absolutely fantastic. Taking some of the ground textures out, I don't think hurts the performance or, the experience at all. We are live if you want to join in. We are flying just outside of Dubai. Doing some free flight search and rescue in our H145. Doing a little bit more drifting. I could put the autopilot on and hover it. Come into the iPad, just go into a GTH. The only problem is it does cover up what you would like to see, but once the beep trim is mapped onto your cyclic with this aircraft, it is very easy to trim yourself into position. Let that come to a little bit of a stop right here. Looks like we have our patient on board, or at least on his way up. Things are looking great. There we go. We got our patient on board. Doors coming closed. Again, we are in that hover, so we'll need to come into our autopilot, disengage, take that down. Now we're going to zoom out a little bit into our map and find out where we want to take this guy to today. I'm not very familiar with the hospital locations here in Dubai. We'll just pick the first one that we come across. What do we got here? Sume. Looks good. And we are off to the races. I'm sure since my terrain level of detail is down low, I'm still getting a lot of just, photogrammetry. However, again, not overly concerned with it at this point. Overall performance is what I'm looking at, and it's fantastic right now. Get a little bit of an overspeed. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that it's very easy to overspeed the 145, and I'm good at it. Got it down to about 100 knots. We'll call it the Don knots. And we do have smoke on the horizon here, which is interesting. I'm curious if inside of our settings here, options, vision, there should be a way to turn smoke off. Waiting time is a little low, smoke and flares off. There we go. It's a little more like it. Flying over our destination here. I don't think I recall seeing a helipad out here anywhere. But I do still see the smoke coming up. It's in that wireframe mesh kind of being seen through the buildings and trees, if you can't see that in the stream. I do have a visual on the pad. I believe it's tucked down in these trees right here. Be able to make that? I don't know. I don't know, Jorg. I thought we said that all of the funny. I thought you said that all of the heliports were going to be modeled. Well, I think we forgot maybe just one. It's going to be tough to get it in there, but I think we might be able to make it work. Shall see. Spring rate. What I'm going to do is play it on the safe side, and I'm just going to put it down on the road next to it, since we still have issues with trees in buildings, on helipads, on runways. It's all good. We'll take the high road. Survive it. Here. On the ground, let's go ahead, power down. She's looking good. There's quite a few things that have changed in the career mode. One of the things I noticed right away is the addition of commas in their math. However, math is still a problem for Microsoft, as they do not know how to add up flight hours and things along those lines. Apparently, that kind of mathematics is very confusing. However, overall, it has greatly improved, especially since now the unexpected errors are a thing of the past. And the marketplace is open. It's pretty barren at this point. However, the marketplace is open. We have been talking for quite a while about what's going to happen when that finally opens up, and we would be surprising one of our followers with a gift of their choosing from that little marketplace. If anyone is interested, feel free to comment below. Right to the blades. That's always healthy. Now we're being dispatched to a school accident. I have seen these where we wind up with trains on tracks and things along those lines. This should be a good one. Let's go ahead and close that down. Into a 1 nautical mile radius. Yeah, lift off. Here in Dubai. Quite a bit of stuttering right about now, though, as we come off the ground. do believe the curves of the controls may have also been reset. My cyclic doesn't feel like it should right now, as a matter of fact. But I do know that if you come in and out of this aircraft while in flight, go inside of any menu system, it will come back in that bizarre oscillation that we've seen prior. This is one thing that I also have not updated, though, so I could very definitely look into that. But she is looking good. Getting close to that overspeed again. One mission that I did in the Pilatus PC-24 was a 6-hour-long flight across South America. And I gotta tell you, what a breeze to make a couple of $1 million in real time. Because the autopilot systems are working right now, and once you get airborne and you're on your way there, you just cancel your IFR, set your autopilot, and kick back and enjoy a ride. Because it's working like it should at this point, which makes passive income quite ridiculously easy to accomplish. So it's just on the other side of this road here. Spending money doing the fast travel in career mode is also exponentially important. Opening up as much of the planet as you possibly can is huge when it comes to finding search and rescue missions, because as we know, it is an issue that is being paid very little attention to by the team. Hasn't received much, if any, real attention when it comes to the quantity of missions being generated for search and rescue. Now, the ones that you find over the water are generally pretty plentiful, especially if you're spread out around the globe. But the search and rescue missions are still far and few between and very repetitive. I do have the vortex ring state of this aircraft turned off once again, otherwise this thing would normally just fall out of the sky, so I still have that fix in place. Ground textures actually look pretty good once you get down here. And we are down once again. And things are looking absolutely fabulous. Doing search and rescue free flight style in Dubai. Gotta love it. How about a cup of coffee for the pilot? Definitely wanted to take my time running the simulator through its paces before I did post this video. But honestly, the amount of negativity surrounding this simulator is really getting to me. It's just a little annoying, and it's like, why is everybody still complaining? The complexity of this simulator is something that's never been attempted before, and I think the team is doing a wonderful job. So once again, I think I'm going to finally ditch this graphic right here. I don't think that we're being punked anymore. I think from now on, it's just going to be Jorg in the corner going, yeah, buddy, we got this. We're on our way. It's taken a little bit of time, but thanks for sticking around. I'm very happy with this product. It does take some tweaking of your systems, but even on a lower end graphics card, I'll put it up one more time. You can see it right here that this is just a 2080 Ti graphics card on a Ryzen Threadripper 2950X. I do have 128 gigs of DDR4 RAM, which is extremely helpful. But 11 gigabytes of VRAM out of this card are doing really well. And the maintenance is still in the details. Now that I have 30 aircraft in the air, every time I'm maintaining these aircraft, I am going into the details and doing that maintenance one issue at a time instead of just blindly maintaining each system as a whole. It saves millions of dollars. Sometimes your aircraft will only need an oil change, and instead of over $1 million worth of maintenance, it's a few thousand. Sometimes even more of a savings, but it's spectacular. Probably one of the biggest tips I have at this point. We are getting our survivor loaded up. Let's go over here. We'll do a different hospital this time. We're going to come up to this guy here in the upper right corner. This doesn't even have a name. Awesome. Flag right there, buddy. There you go. Power lines to contend with. Might as well get over those. They do start generating quite late, even though the pre-cache is 2 Ultra. Here we go back into another overspeed, approaching the 120. Man, am I good at that. I would say that the sim update has done wonders for the sim on several different forms. I'm ecstatic with it. The best part is the longer flights. You know, you don't have to sit there wondering if you're going to get the unexpected error every single time. It's doable. We are still pushing those issues on the forums, though, to make sure that they start paying attention to the search and rescue missions. And just how few of them are being generated around the planet, and how well, they're just spending most of their time on fixed wings. And I get it, they've got their hands full. But, hey guys. Got some work to do. is close enough for me. I'll take it. Why not? Put that crew to work. There is also the addition of the live traffic in career mode as well, which has turned out to be a little bit of a train wreck. You'll find some gliders taxiing on the airports, which is comical. There's still a lot, and I do mean a lot, to be done, but they have fixed some very important features, and I believe that they are headed in the right direction. Looking forward to the next release. It should be pretty fantastic. The question is, how long is it going to take them to get it done? Either way, I digress. I'm still waiting for this guy right here, the Miltech MH60. That's going to be a super good time. Really looking forward to that one. We're going to do right now is take a peek inside of career mode. We'll come back out to the main menu. And I have reached pilot level 350, which I think is an incredible milestone to have hit. My reputation level is still at a low S at this point. 31.3 million for the company and 39 million overall. Things are looking fantastic. The mission sets themselves, like I said, the regular search and rescue missions are becoming sporadic. However, the key is opening up the planet. As you can see here in Africa, there's a lot of land in this part of the world that isn't even covered, but I have unwrapped most of it, if not all of the available airports within the continent, country. Still haven't opened up more of the north here. I'm going to be working into the China, Russia, India, Saudi area here. I still have a lot to open up, but still at half of Australia. These missions, again, you can get to them, but they are almost all offshore missions. Very easily done. But the inland missions are like far and few between, which is probably the most frustrating thing, because that's honestly what I enjoy doing the most. But look at the quantity of the offshore missions. These things, they're pretty well everywhere in this portion of the world. So you can sit here and bounce up and down here and make 277K really quickly. And it's not that bad. Let's go ahead and dive in. I might need to move an aircraft here. Maybe not. We'll see. Only 19K. I'm down. 29 aircraft around the planet. Let's get one of them over here, because there is a plethora of missions to be had up and down this coast. The problem with these missions is, to me, they all really feel the exact same. The only difference between them is the terrain below you and the distance. Finding the survivor in the raft right now, for me anyway, is becoming really easy. I could spot them at a very great distance. And again, we'll go into this one more time. We'll look at the details. And I'm going to do this one system at a time instead of an overall. landing gear I'm just going to do overall because that's the way to do that one. And we're just going to forget the wash for now and go straight to it. Finding these is ridiculously easy. And so far it's been that way for me in just about any kind of weather condition. The issue becomes the swell of the water once you're in the hover. Easiest way that I found to do it though, like I said earlier, is to be outside of the aircraft. Kind of zoom that camera out a little bit. Twist it around so you can see where your skids are in relation. And just about put your skid on the raft. Watch the rotor wash underneath the aircraft. Kind of maintain your position any way you can, because once that smoke does start to spill around the rotor wash, orange outs happen pretty easily. Orange outs. Just making words up now. Let's get that headlight turned down. Another little trick I've found that I like to do is actually to disconnect the iPad, then bring it back up. Once the EFB is here, I'll disconnect it and then throw that on the monitor so the inside of the cockpit remains clean while you do it. Wait till we get those engines spooled up a little bit more before we hit it. About there, we're going to contact ground. Into flight. We'll be up and out of here quickest way possible. Thanks for joining in tonight. We're going for search and rescue, water style. Steps went away. I do have all of the voices volumes for the simulator turned down. I think it's one of the greatest things you can do because it's kind of annoying to hear it all the time. There are still quite a few issues with the voices talking over themselves. Two communications happening at the same time. Turn those visual assistants off. So this is the view that I like to get into when I'm doing these missions. I want to be just over the top of the blades. And you'll see what we do with the altitude and how I approach this. And once we get a little bit closer, I will show you how I am coming into the search area, which I think is extremely helpful. Sometimes, and I do mean most of the time, these rafts are right at the precipice of the search area. And it's just, you can see them from miles away. Especially with the settings on Ultra. Do have a little bit of a ride in this one. We'll show you the EFB and what we're working with right here. I'm going to do is actually stay off of the flight path just a little bit so I can come into the search area in a spot where they don't necessarily recommend. I'm taking a different angle at it. Ride. As far as altitude, this is about where I want to stay. So if I jump inside right now, you're going to see that I'm about 400, 500 feet off the deck. All right. So that is the area that I like to stay in for these missions. It gives you a really good vantage point to look out from. Because most of these, what you're going to wind up seeing first is the mirror. So you can see that I'm not dead on with their recommended flight path. I'm going to come in at a different angle, and I'm going to be looking. Right, so what I'm going to do is actually take that to a different, I'm going to come and slice the circle in a different way. Getting a little bit too low. Bring it back up. We're not close to a spot where I could even see it yet, but we're definitely getting there. Alright, so that's the tactic. I'm going to take this off the screen one more time so we can open up the view. We'll bring up the visual assistance. Right now we're still 6.2 nautical miles away. I just now start to see the smoke from the boat out there. And I am looking basically at the entire horizon where the water meets the sky at this point. And I'm just scanning back and forth, and I'm looking for an anomaly that is just a small little white dot that starts to come in and out. And you want to start looking relatively early. And again, from that sliced vantage point. You can pick and choose which side you come in on, but not down their recommended flight path. Most of the time it's going to be slightly off to the either left or right. And you'll be able to see the raft long before bring up the visual so you can get an idea of just how far away I am from the search area still. About 4.5 nautical miles. And again, I'm not coming into the center of the search area. I'm coming slightly off. A little bit low again. We'll bring it back up to around 5. Right about here. Scanning the, I see it. I believe I see it. One, I have a dot flashing just off to my 11 o'clock. I believe I have bogey. I got it. And right now my search area again is in the other direction, still 2 nautical miles. I have not reached the search area, but I hope you can see it on the stream. There is just a little white dot right there on the horizon, directly in front of me. I'm still not even in the search area. I'll show you what the EFB looks like to give you an idea. It's either going to be to the left or the right. Majority of the time for me lately has been on the left side. But yeah, these things are probably the easiest missions just because how easy they really are to spot, especially once you get your video settings up there to ultra. It makes a huge difference, obviously. Still not even in the search area. There we go. Just reached it. Starting to bring that altitude down again. Hopefully you can see that white dot now. It's staying a little bit more steady. It's like, it almost seems like it's getting larger and smaller, like in the swell, even from this distance. Still haven't popped the smoke. Should be doing that any minute. Definitely should be visible on the stream now. There's smoke. Start to slow it down. The water is not too bad right now. Looks like maybe 2 to 2.5 foot. We're gonna call in that we see them, and here we go. All right, so now that we're here, I'm gonna take that camera and just zoom it out a little bit, and I'm gonna watch where my rotor wash is in relation to the boat. As low down as you can get, right about there. I'm gonna go ahead and trigger it. Come over to the side a little bit, you can see where this is, and I should be able to put this rescuer right down in that raft. No waiting. We got him. I'm going to slowly start to drift. Now here's something that they also need to fix with this is the timing right now. Watch how long it takes them to shut the door of the aircraft and then confirm that we actually have the passenger on board. It takes a very long time to do, and it sometimes hurts your rating on the way out. So I haven't really found a way around it yet. Door has finally come closed, and it just goes immediately to fly to Dunwick. Dunwick be way out there. 15 nautical miles to go. I do have the voices turned down right now, so you may not be able to hear the delay in it, and I'm pretty sure that the mission steps don't actually say anything about it, but that is something that I have heard myself that does need some attention, because that recovery time was excellent, if you ask me. We are up and we are out. Take our EFB out of the mix one more time. Very, very easy to do. Every single time. These are just money. getting down low and dirty and finding out where you're going to drop your rescue swimmer early, and then just hold that hover. That's it. Your rotor washes impacting the water can also, like I said, be that reference of where you need to be if you do need to get a little further off the water. But doing them from inside the cockpit, I think, requires a secondary individual. Con me in. And they have talked that with this update, the multiplayer side of things has also, you know, they did some things to it and may be in a better position now than it was prior. But everything else is working wonderfully. Took them a while to get Sim Update 1 out there, but I think they did a really good job with it. They fixed quite a few things. But with that pilot level now at 350, I have the plan to not buy any more aircraft. I am just going to sit there and make money until I can get either a Chinook or the Sky Crane, and eventually both. But those are expensive birds. And flying the PC-24 is honestly the easiest way to make money because, again, that autopilot works. Cancel the IFR and walk away. Altitude is something that you need to pay attention to, though. I've found that between 13 and 18,000 foot elevation, you don't run into any issues at all. Plan your flight prior to it with your EFB, change that flight level, send it to the avionics after you get into the aircraft, and just let the autopilot handle it. That cannot be done in a H125. And you have to inspect the airports before you take off. Make sure that aren't, because you can actually see if there's trees on the runway, if the runway's too short. Just look into all of that stuff before you take off. You can see it here on the EFBs. We've actually got some traffic in the area this time. Haven't been able to see them out the windshield, but there is definitely another aircraft in the area. You can see the name tag up above here. AI generated traffic. I'd say both sides, free flight and career mode, have improved greatly. Visually and the overall experience, the functionality, it's coming around very nicely. Weird, the nameplate just comes and goes. It will be nice once they start paying attention to search and rescue. Would be curious to see if we could get a frame rate right now. Let's see what happens. A lot of the times I just get the non-available. Well, it went down to 1. It might be calculating. I don't think we're going to get one. This has been an issue with the driver since the update. But I mean, it is using a pretty good chunk of that GPU at 95%. CPU's chilling at only about, low teens. Not too shabby. Disconnect our EFB again. It is still selecting the wrong runway occasionally, so always be aware of what direction you're headed in when it's telling you to land on a specific runway. Make sure you're actually coming into that runway. I did a couple at Telluride that wound up like that too, and they have you coming in the absolute wrong direction. I think what really kick-started that passive income for me was putting the fixed-wing aircraft back in the mix. And the PC-24 has been my choice, and so far it's working out pretty well. Making an approach to runway 15, which is true. We'll see what the score is on this one. think I'm on the runway. Looks good from here. A little bit of a downdraft right there. All right, all right. Keeping me on my toes. I like it. Down. They're so spooky. Every time, they're just weird looking. Really dirty bird. This thing could just, yeah, we should take the sheet metal off of this thing. This thing needs to be stripped. That is in horrible condition. Even having gone through a recent repaint. That's that. And here we go again. I'm glad I caught that on camera too, is the paint job will come in and out. Half of the aircraft will show clean and the other half dirty. It's just very random, and it seems to be proximity related. There's like the threshold right there. I'm only one step of the camera away. Interesting. See what that rotor brake is set at right now. What? I get in the aircraft and it takes me back out of the aircraft. Ah, I see what I did. I left the camera outside. It's my first day. Down to 143. You know, we gotta let it go down to 140 or lower for the speed brake. Rotor brake comes on. Should be a solid S, but again, we'll see if that little bug that's related to the extraction time comes through again. I'm pretty sure it will. Yep, only says 97% for retrieval time, which to me is absurd considering how quickly I extracted them. Only 272, but I like the S reputation staying where it's at. That level 350 feels good. I like it. 31 million in the company. Things are looking absolutely fantastic. And this is what I mean, Microsoft. Asobo, can you guys really do math? It absolutely kills me. I mean, I like the addition of commas, but total missions of 30. If I go down this list and see what the missions have been, I have done way more than 7 or 30 missions in the last 7 days, I promise. And again, total flight hours is still only 10 minutes, and it says 2,136 flights. I have no idea if that's accurate. I'll tell you what, though, it does feel accurate. So even though the sim update is in place, there's still a boatload of things to fix. Like sometimes having to come in and out of this company's option to even see what your overall credit rating is, how much money you've got on the bank. There's just a lot to be fixed. But we did say it, Microsoft's marketplace is here. Aircraft. Not one helicopter. Not one. Besides the Chinook, which comes with My version of the sim. Helicopter, helicopter. I mean, I'm really looking forward for Miltech Blackbird to include that in here. I'll put it up one more time. This MH60 needs to be in this marketplace sooner than later. I am so looking forward to that. Miltech, good luck, Godspeed. It's been a blast. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, it has been a blast. It has been a ball. For now, that's it. That's all. We'll see you in the next one, and then have a good flight.